Welcome back, podcast community. My name's Cam King. This is Three Questions Podcast. Three Questions Podcast is a short, hard-hitting podcast series that me, as a founder of CK Collective, host. And I love to get good, awesome, amazing guests on the show. Today we have Sarah Marie over in California, originally from North Carolina. But Sarah, hello. Tell us about yourself. Give us a quick intro.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks so much for having me on the podcast. Super fun. Yeah, I'm a serial entrepreneur, female entrepreneur, like many of you. Dabbled in many industries, and I landed myself out in LA last year. So I'm building my entrepreneur brand and focusing on my private equity, corporate aviation sales, and leadership. So yeah, those are three industries that I am in, and three industries that I'm super passionate about.
Hell yeah. I love it. I love getting people that are doing different things, starting their own businesses, have life experience. Obviously, in my mentoring, I work with a lot of different clients, and these clients are amazing individuals. They're all starting their own businesses. And I don't just like to do solo podcast episodes anymore. Normally, I have people submit questions, I'll answer the questions, and I'm getting sick of hearing myself talk. So I want to get more guests on the podcast to share their experience. And we have three questions written down here. How TQP works is I will ask you a question. I'll essentially set a timer for 5 minutes, and you don't need to feel like you need to fill up the 5 minutes, but give us the most hard-hitting information that relates to that question that you can think of. And we don't plan this, we don't record this, there's no script. I want you to go right off the cuff, and I want you to be authentic. So, are you ready to get into the questions?
Let's do it.
Awesome. Cool. Let me get my timer going here. And I'll give you a four when you're getting close. Okay. But again, it can be more dialogue. So if you have a question, you have a good point, and I feel like there's something to add, we can just kind of ad hoc it from there. But all right. So question number one, tell us how you got started as a female entrepreneur. Why did you decide to become an entrepreneur in the first place? And how has that been so far?
Yeah, I started out being an entrepreneur by default, I think. I started out doing a 9 to 5 type of job, collecting W-2, 18 to 20. And it was just one of those situations where you're working all the time and you're working, but it's not working smarter. So I think the desire to get out of the rat race was the original interest in getting self-employed, although my personality is lined up to not want to work for somebody. I've got a very free spirit. And so being confined is one of those things. So yeah, I started out basically just doing real estate. I bought a house and, put 20% down and put a renter in it. And then, created some passive income and then pulled some equity out of that rental and started doing it that way over the course of, 20, 25 years. You're making small adjustments, and I created a business out of it after, 20 years. And so I started real estate. I did a little bit of insurance. I started doing investing after I started, just purchasing for passive income and taking some of that money and getting into bigger projects, commercial projects with investing. And I didn't know anybody in the industry. I didn't have anybody in my family that was helping me out, that was pointing me in the right direction, that was giving me money or guidance. So I just kind of was a school of life, dabbling in different things. And then if I made a little money, I would be like, cool, that's great. Maybe that worked or it didn't work. And so that's how finance and investment started, just through real estate and then scaling that over time. And leadership, I've been in leadership my whole life. And I've just, naturally, when you're inclined to want to lead people, you find yourself in leadership positions. And so I worked in the nonprofit world alongside real estate investing for 25 years as well. And that was kind of more for fulfillment, but I started the nonprofit. So I was still being rogue in the sense of being self-employed. And yeah, so that's kind of how I got into finance, investments, nonprofit leadership. Corporate aviation came alongside as well. I was hitting a wall with how much money I could create, and I was frustrated. So I got a third gig, and I did flight attending for private jets, and that was through contracts. And so that was alongside several other industries. I always had 2 to 3 gigs going at a time, minimal, on top of just like passive investments coming in. So yeah, it was just kind of like a net. I just slowly started to build based off my personality. And then I figured out how can I create income? So I was flying to create more income for investments. And so after about 10 years in that industry, I was tired of being the help, even though it was great money and great, experience. And I got to travel the world for free and stay in the best of the best places. It was just like, all right, I need to start the brokerage. So I took some side steps, stepped down from flying, focused more on leadership and investments and my connections, and started my aviation brokerage. And so now, currently, as an entrepreneur, I have private equity, corporate aviation sales, and then leadership development coaching. And so I write contracts in the investment circle with the investors, whether they're commercial projects, fund portfolios, or I write them a contract for a jet if they want to purchase a jet, and I take on clients for leadership development and coaching and consulting for people trying to scale their business or get their foot in the industry. So yeah, that's kind of how I started out. What was the other questions?
No, that's really good. I think entrepreneurship calls to people, right? And what was the one thing where you were like, yeah, I have to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think creating my own schedule, it was just like a restraint of always feeling like you could never get enough income because your hour is only 1 hour here. And so I just felt controlled. And so it was taking a leap of faith. I didn't, like I said, I didn't have a family history of a lot of money. I came from nothing. And so that's where the second and third gigs came in. I established myself working enough, saving enough that I could take the leap of faith to start the businesses. But yeah, it was just out of frustration. And also, I didn't go to college for business. And so all the things that my mind is curious about and my personality is wired for and my calling and skill set is, I didn't go to college for that. So I couldn't get my foot in the industry in any of these corporate America positions in the, era that I was doing it because college was really, really important. And so I went to college for theology. And so I had to learn, skill sets and get myself in the door. And so I tried to get jobs and I couldn't get approved and couldn't get a job. And so I'm like, all right, I can't get a job. I got to create income. And so that's kind of where it came from, out of frustration and wanting to create my own lifestyle and create my own time. And I couldn't get a job in the industry I wanted, so I needed to make one. So yeah.
Yeah, when you can't get a job and you have to make one. That's ironically how I started CK Collective. Was a I just got laid off as a global new business director during COVID, and every agency laid off all their people. And I applied to like 200 other jobs around town, around the country, whatever. Got zero interviews with my resume, and I was like, it's not my resume. I was like, this is crazy. And I literally had to create a business. I had like a runway left of like 2 weeks. And I was like, I gotta get my dog food. I literally built this overnight, didn't sleep one night. I remember like going to bed at like 6:30. I was like, cool, website's built. I'm gonna sleep for 3 hours and then I'm gonna work on this for another like 18, 19, 20 hours and then start hunting for clients. And
Yeah.
you
Brilliant.
you you do it. When your back's against the wall, you do it as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
wouldn't recommend it,
No, 10
but
out of 10 don't recommend.
yeah,
If
wouldn't
you can find
recommend.
any other job, do that. If you do not have a call for entrepreneurship, you are not going to make it. So you've got to have a
Yeah,
grit and a hustle and a grind and a calling
yeah.
to this, or, it's just too much.
Or it's too much. I completely agree. Especially I always tell people that are entrepreneurs this. I say, if you're not willing to jump into the pool without knowing how deep it is, without even knowing if you can swim or for how long or with how much weight, if you don't find a way and know that you can make one, entrepreneurship is not for you. You're gonna crush it, and then you're gonna be like, "Oh my God, should I quit right now?" And it's literally everything in between, right?
No.
So it's a fun road, but I think it teaches you a lot about yourself. So that's awesome. Let's hop into question number two. So for female entrepreneurs, what would you tell a woman who wants to start their own business but doesn't know how?
Yeah, so I would suggest first getting mindset, help with mindset and making sure your head is clear so you have a vision, so you know what direction you're going in business and where you're going is going to determine what steps to take, right? And so a lot of times people want to start businesses and they do the steps the wrong way. And so I think getting your mindset right, number one. Number two, hiring a coach. I think a coach is important because you're only going to go as far as you can take yourself and you've got blind spots and a lot of internal blind spots. You think you know yourself, you think you know what you're going to show up and do, or you think you know, you make your decisions this way, and you just have internal subconscious mind, mind blocks and mindset stuff that will take you to the next level if you have the right coach, and then help avoid, problems when you have a coach. There's a lot of mistakes that are made on the front end of business, whatever industry you're in. If you can avoid making those mistakes, you are going to save yourself so much time, money, emotion, headaches. And so some of that is just hiring somebody that's farther along in the journey than you are. And as a female, there's, a lot of women feel like they need to stay small, and, they don't need to take up much space because they've been told to not, be so loud or whatever it is. And, I think just rallying with somebody that is mentoring you, a coach that's going to be able to hold your hand and keep you accountable, I think that's super crucial, especially in the area of entrepreneurship, because, there's some seasons where you can't figure the problem out and you need someone to kind of guide you and lead you through that. And so, yeah, I'm a firm believer in coaching and mind, like masterminds and all kind of mindset stuff. And I've spent well over $150,000 in the last 2.5 years on mindset and coaching and consulting to help me get to where I am and to get my business where it needs to go. And so, yeah, that's what I would tell any female that wants to start a business: start a YouTube mindset and then hire a coach. Those are the top two things I would say.
It's that's awesome. You also do coaching for female entrepreneurs, right?
I do. Yep. I consult for males as well, but I love female entrepreneurship. So yeah,
That's awesome. I think women really need a number one, a good role model to look up to and someone to help them kind of navigate that. You're already doing it. There'd be a perfect fit for people to reach out to you. We'll get your contact info at the end, but man, I work with a lot of women who I encourage them to start their own business, whether they're in a relationship or not, whether they don't like their job or they do. I say, hey, what can you do on the side?
Mhm.
What is something that you can create consistently that work on, over the next 3 months, 6 months, 1 year to get you out of a rut, to teach you something about yourself, to teach you that you can create, to teach you that you can learn to uh, use your own energy to create something that other people can buy, or you can help the world in a different way. You don't have to be a slave to your 9 to 5. And I think we live in the best era of all time to do that. So very, very good stuff. Now my favorite question. So question number 3. What is your biggest life lesson and what would you change from that?
For me personally, coming from nothing, right? I come from very humble beginnings and did not have anything in sight for future or dreams. I had to create life and then start dreaming. I would say your network is your net worth, and networking is crucial to scaling your business. And my biggest lesson is I didn't learn that until the last few years of my life. I would show up at conferences and be there and learn, but I was not intentional with making my name known in that room in the sense of energetically and with the right ask, right? Not showing up and being a big personality, but just showing up and being intentional with the relationships that are there and trusting the intuition to know who to talk to in those environments. I did not tune into my inner voice like that when it comes to the work world. I did not network like that. So that's my biggest lesson, because I think how much farther I would be if I would have had that mindset early on in the early years of my life, in my 20s and 30s. Now, just learning that in my 40s, that it's who you know in this industry, and you're able to scale much quicker because you're utilizing their skill set and their resources, and they're able to just elevate the experience much quicker. It's expedited much quicker when you're working with somebody that you meet in an environment that's super high net worth, high impact. And so I wish I would have known that. But now that I do know it, I'm very intentional in every environment. And with that said, I go in with every environment looking for just one person who's going to be my person to follow up with, and to, who's going to be that one that's going to take me whatever area I'm looking for. And so you can get overwhelmed in those environments, be like, who should I talk to? And I got a network. What does that even mean? But just looking for the one person that you can connect with, whether that's a relationship, whether that's a partner, whether that's a finance, partnership, or whether that's a product sale or a marketing or a coach or a next level coach. Because I've gone to several networking events, and out of those, I've already have several coaches, and this guy speaks to me, and it's like my blind spot that I know I got to target. And so I'll target them as my person to like learn and glean from, and then we become partners and do business together. And so that's my biggest life lesson. Your network is your net worth, and it's crucial to scaling your business.
I agree. It's all about who you know.
Yep.
And so many people echo that same phrase. And I think really when you have powerful friends or you have good connections that actually are two-way streets, you can't put a price on that. If
Mhm.
you can pick up the phone and call somebody and ask for a favor, you're never, you can always get yourself out of a tough jam.
Yeah.
And I think that when it comes to entrepreneurship, yeah, building your business, working on that, marketing, sales, finance, automation, optimizing, delegating, managing your team is great. But like if you're not taking the time to go out there and like meet new people, hand out business cards, check in with people, learn about their families, go to breakfast, go to dinner, go to drinks, go to games, you name it, then what else do you have, right?
Yeah.
I had a business meeting one time and it was like, okay, we're not a mutual fit right now, but let's stay in touch. Then like a couple days later, I went to a Celtics game and the guy was sitting right next to me and we just broed out and we just shared beers. And ever since then, we've been trading clients and helping each other for free, like back and forth. He has an issue, I have an issue. I need this. You know anybody here? And he's brought me more business, and I got him thousands of dollars worth of business because I was like, I just like this guy, right?
Mhm.
So if you get people to like you, you're authentic. Your
Yeah,
network
and
is your
you're
net
doing
worth.
life, right? It's not just work. It becomes you're doing life with people, and you're creating your community and your lifestyle with each other. And so now you have friends in the industry. And as an entrepreneur, it can be lonely at the top. And so part of networking is not just to build your business, it's to help you stay closely connected with people that are like-minded and that you can continue to grow together. And so, yeah, I 100% agree with that for sure.
Yeah, I love it. I feel like sometimes I live in a little bit of isolation, but then I'm like, F that. I'm talking to people all day. I just don't have to go do it in person. I don't need to drive anywhere right now, right? So I agree. And we met online. You saw some of my content, and we've been helping each other and finding ways to help each other and contribute to each other's business. And it's amazing, right? So it's awesome to have you on the podcast. But let's talk about how people can reach out to you. Where can people find you? What's your website? What do you offer? Give us the whole spiel.
Yeah, so you can find me at thesarahmarie.net, the Sarah with an H, big H, Marie.net. That's Sarah Marie one on all social sites. And I offer corporate aviation sales. So entrepreneurs that are high scale in their companies are looking for purchasing jets. I offer creative investment solutions and purchasing off-market stuff, able to find really creative solutions for those needs. So yeah, I'm happy to help you in corporate aviation sales. Private equity, I represent a lot of portfolios, so I'm looking for investors that are willing to, sit with these projects and go along for the journey. And then I'm also in leadership development consulting, and I do coaching. I teach on sales, models, marketing, systems, mindset, and communication. And so, yeah, I kind of help craft a program based on what the need is, and then we do biweekly calls and we go from there. So yeah, that's where you can meet me. I'd love to work with you if you're serious about working. Nobody that just wants to work with me because I'm blonde, please. I've had a lot of people do that. And I'm like, I have to really vet, I'm like, how serious? Let me proof of funding first. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a good thing and a bad thing to be a beautiful blonde woman in business such as yourself. So kudos to you. I respect what you do very much as a business professional, and I hope that we can continue to help each other's businesses even from across the country. And I know you're destined for big things, but that's it for now for Three Questions Podcast. Like I said, super quick, hard-hitting stuff. You can come back anytime. If you want to talk about this, I'd like to invite people on to promote their businesses, share their business lessons. Literally the bar is so low here. Like we can talk about whatever we want on this podcast. I'm going to keep it professional. And I like to just have this so that people can listen to something and they can hear good advice from someone who's out there doing it, such as yourself. So kudos to you. I will put all of your info in the description down below. But Sarah, can't thank you enough. And thank you everyone for listening to Three Questions Podcast. And we will see you in episode number 91.